Man, let me tell you something. I listened to that whole Kamala Harris interview and I couldn't help but shake my head because what I heard wasn't just a vice president talking politics. It was a politician trying to sound like she ain't part of the same broken system she's describing.
This is a full-on frontal attack on the rule of law in our country. And, you know, one of the things that we talked about during those 107 days and even before was that the Supreme Court, during the course of the election cycle, made the decision, as you'll recall, that the president would be immune from any of his conduct while in office. So we went into the election with this individual, Donald Trump, knowing that he would essentially be immune from any consequence for misbehavior while in office. So the Supreme Court basically gave him that. You look at what's happening in terms of the militarization of the streets of America, deploying people, men and women who have been trained to fight our adversaries or to do other important work that is about uplifting the well-being of the American people, being sent to the streets of America like here in Chicago. You look at what's happening in terms of the weaponization of the Department of Justice, to your point, going after Comey, going after the Attorney General of the state of New York, who a previous prosecutor, who I'm told was a conservative Republican, reviewed the evidence and decided that there was not enough facts to charge her with a crime, and she has been indicted. And what we see is that the rule of law is very much under attack by this president, who thinks that the Department of Justice is his personal lawyer and is basically subverting the will of the people around constitutional safeguards. I think that we also have to recognize that the district court judges, some of whom were even appointed by Trump, and Democrats, but Republicans and democratically appointed judges in the district courts, are standing up. And I think that is something that we should recognize and praise, that they are saying that where there's an abuse of power, they're going to stand firm. But we also see everyday people and their constitutional rights being trampled, whether it be Fourth, Fifth, or Sixth Amendment rights. So this is a real issue and a serious issue. And the people, I think, are speaking through their vote and their voice to say they're not going to stand for it.
Kamala's out here talking about the rule of law being under attack, and she ain't wrong. But where was that same energy when the system was crushing regular folks? When black folks been screaming for decades that the justice system don't serve justice unless your name's got money behind it?
I think he has a vengeance campaign, which is, I think, really exposing the petty nature of who he is and his deep level of insecurity, that he feels that he has to use the power of the federal government and the United States Department of Justice to go after people who have disagreed with him, or as prosecutors who have used a combination of the facts and law to prosecute him. From everything I know, Attorney General James based a conviction, or she didn't convict them, but based her charges, which was then resulted in a conviction, based on facts in the law. But he can't take that. He can't take the fact that he's been held accountable, and so he is on a vengeance campaign.
Now that Trump's turning the DOJ into his personal hit squad, suddenly everybody woke up like, oh my God, democracy's in danger. Nah, welcome to our America. We've been living under a weaponized system. She talks about the militarization of America's streets. Sis, we've been watching Black Hawks in our neighborhood since Ferguson, since Minneapolis, since Watts.
You also write in the book about that warning in that last speech on the lips. I was there, where you said he would use the military to go after American citizens.
Yeah.
We're here in Chicago, one of the cities he's trying to, the courts have stopped him, to send the National Guard in. Just today, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said Trump has declared war on Chicago and other cities. Do you agree? Has the President of the United States declared war on cities run by Democrats in this country?
Well, let's just look at the facts and then draw your own conclusion. He is deploying U.S. military to the streets of America. a military that has been set up, stood up, and trained, for the most part, to do the work of fighting against adversaries, fighting against enemies, and deploying them on the streets of America as though, and he said it, to attack the enemy within. Here in Chicago, I'm told that the helicopters that were descending on an American city were Black Hawks.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what Black Hawks were designed to do?
War, yeah.
War. So I think everyone can draw their conclusions just based on the facts and see that he has definitely decided he's going to use the power of the federal government to attack American cities and the people who live there.
What did you make of him saying and telling these generals and admirals, military leaders, a couple of weeks ago to use the cities as training grounds?
I think it's outrageous. I think it's outrageous, and any military leader that you speak with who has been there and taken an oath and served in combat will tell you that the idea that these men and women who sacrifice so much to enlist and to serve in our military forces would turn on American citizens for sport or training is completely against every reason that they signed up to serve our nation and to protect our nation.
You just didn't call it war when it was black folks getting gunned down, but now that it's happening under Trump's name, everybody want to act brand new. And this vengeance campaign she keeps bringing up, yeah, Trump's petty, power drunk, and dangerous, no doubt. But the truth is, this whole political class runs on vengeance. Republicans and Democrats alike, they all protect their own. Meanwhile, the people pay the price.
I think the American people have a lot to say right now about how they are feeling and what they want from their leadership. And I hope that I can use this time to be able to do that listening and to lift up those voices. One of the issues that I have talked about even on the stage is the level of fear and frustration that the American people are feeling. The level of distrust that is existing, distrust in the system and their government, but also distrust in each other as fellow Americans. And I think there's some deep work that we have to do that includes lifting up those voices toward a solution. I don't think, as I write in the book, I don't think all the solutions are going to come out of D.C.
The same system she says needs trust has been betraying that trust since the very first gavel hit the bench. Let me put it plain. The American people ain't stupid. We know the game. Trump didn't break the system. He just stopped pretending it was fair. Kamala's right that it's a serious issue, but it's been serious since Emmett Till, since Rodney King, since Breonna Taylor. Now they're just realizing it because power's finally biting back.
So how do you fix that trust, right? Because you have said that we are working with different sets of facts, right? That there's in this world that we're living.
No, I would say different information.
Different
fact
information.
is fact.
That's true. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So different information. We're all working with different information in this country. And so how do you get that trust back with MAGA Republicans, for example?
I don't want to put anyone in a general broad group of people, because if you're talking about, for example, people who elected and voted for Donald Trump in the last election, I do believe that there's a fair number of people who did, because they trusted and believed that he would, as he said he would, on day one, bring down prices, which he did not. He lied. The cost of food is higher, unemployment is higher, inflation is higher. And so when I think about a population of people that just believed and wanted that, I think the work to be done is about talking about our plans for addressing that and doing so immediately. Part of what I've talked about is, I think if we had to do it over again, we should have really considered the family care piece of our Build Back Better agenda before we dealt with infrastructure and chips. We could have gotten to that, but dealing with extending the child tax credit, with paid leave, affordable child care would have met the immediate needs of the American people. In fact, that's why during the 107 days, that was my platform.
So, yeah, talk about rebuilding trust, talk about listening to the people, but if you ain't listening to the pain of the people who've been under the boot the longest, then all that talk is just politics with better lighting. Beat Mr. Blackout.